Are you ready for some news? Because I employed like 3 hours looking for this template online. This talk is around some of the most important things, in my opinion, in open source communication. Let's get started. So, my name is Matteo Bianchi. I'm a solutions engineer at GitHub. Actually, today I'm on PTO, so I'm not on GitHub duty. CNCF ambassador. I'm formerly an organizer for KCD, but in the Netherlands, and Cloud Native Days. If you ever want to visit the Netherlands, we have also a series of meetups that are organized by some folks, and super cool. So I was a first time in the Kubernetes release team in 1.31, so like 2 releases ago, and I was the comms lead for last release, so 1.32, Penelope. I don't know if you read the blog post and stuff. And after that, this release, I was not in comms, but I was helping out, because as a emeritus comms lead, you still help out. And that release was 1.33 Octarine. That was released actually on the 23rd of April, so pretty like very not so distant from now. Well, I did launch some comments for that release because I did some branch management, which is a different thing, is a different job within the Kubernetes release team. It's more like SRE, technical. But today we're gonna talk about communication. Fun fact about me, before I forget, sometimes I'm a metal singer. Maybe you noticed by the way I dress, but yeah, that's cool. I also would like maybe one day to have a workshop on how to use your voice as a speaker. But yeah, that's for another day. So, but what did I actually do during these 3 releases? Nice question. Despite being a technical person, kind of, I can write some Golang. I have some knowledge about Kubernetes. I've been using that since 1.12, I think. I decided to onboard on communication because I was not sure about how the open source project would work. There was an application. We're going to see also how to apply eventually for this release. And well, they decided to accept me. Kudos on them, maybe. And I had to author blogs, edit stuff for like the last 2 releases. I thought it would be an interesting role because communication in an open source project, especially large like Kubernetes, touches a lot of points and a lot of groups within the release. For those who wonder, the release, the current release, 1.33, I was actually a release lead shadow. We're gonna see what shadow means in a minute. And yeah, so here we go. Couple of questions before we start with the actual presentation for you. How many of you work for a company that has a structured communication process about releases? I'm talking about internal releases if you have a platform, let's say, or also external releases if you have a product for your users. By raise of hands. Okay, cool. Not everyone, but some. Cool. And then, do you consume open source releases documentation, even like just release notes? It doesn't have to be the complete docs. Okay, very cool. How many of you have contributed to an open source project before, in any capacity? It doesn't have to be commits or technical. It can be documentation issues. Okay, very cool. It's just me being curious. I want to understand like who's my audience and how to address the room. So thank you. So starting for the release team, who are we? So the release team is a sub-project within SIG release. A SIG is a special interest group. There are, I think, over 25 currently in Kubernetes. And the main goal for us as a release team is to deliver Kubernetes releases. So what do? We actually, drive the release in different ways. So in a way, it's project management for releases. Like, that's what it is. Regardless of how everyone thinks about open source, about like being technical people, doing very technical things, project management is needed, especially when the release is so large. There are so many groups contributing to it. Imagine like in a company, you have no product management, no project managers. Everyone can just commit whatever they want. There is no roadmap. No one decides on things. How would you think the software would go? Probably not so well, especially if you have like more than 200, 300 actually contributors every release. So yeah, interestingly enough, the release team is done by 4. Before it was 5, but now 4 volunteer-powered teams. One is enhancements, which basically takes all of the proposals of features for Kubernetes and handles their life cycle. It's very complex. That's why I didn't choose this team. And then release signal, which actually takes care of checking all the testing suite that we have in Kubernetes. Because yes, we do test every single commit. And we have a test grid integration, so you see a lot of green and red, usually a lot of green and a little red. And when something is red, they just actually chase the team that has released that component that is currently breaking the tests. And then there are docs and comms. I say docs and comms closely because actually they have a similar job. So I would argue that documentation is the most important for sure, because you want to know exactly how a feature works, how to enable it, what are the components, the parameters. But you also maybe want to know a little bit of storytelling about the feature. Like, why was it important? For how long was it under development? And what were the challenges? And that's when the comms team comes into play. We basically orchestrate a little bit the blog side of documentation. Because yes, there is a SIG in Kubernetes around docs, and the blog is a sub-project of docs. So it's actually, I think it's also related in terms of Kubernetes specifically. And this photo you see here, it's like some of us Kubernetes people at the Maintainer Summit at KubeCon in London. There will be another Maintainer Summit in Atlanta. So if you come to the US, be sure to check out if you can be there and how can you be there. If you are a contributor to a CNCF project, how many of you contribute to CNCF projects currently? Okay, so at least 3 or 4 of you can already attend. You can also be sponsored. Let's say you are very interested in knowing more about the release or one of the talks that we have at the Maintainer Summit. You can ask the people that now raise their hand to sponsor you to be able to come at the Maintainer Summit. And yeah. So shadowing. What is this shadowing? Okay, it's less creepy than it looks. It's basically some people, usually it's 3 or 4 depending on the team, that shadow the lead for that current role. So enhancements, signal, docs, or comms. And what happens? You apply. Usually the application is public. So we have a issue, in this case was for 1.33, and it's public. We have a link with Google Docs form, very simple. We don't have fancy things. You just read all the handbooks, which is really important, which basically outline all the responsibilities you have in the different teams. And if you like one of them, you can ask to be a shadow for that role. Then after a couple of days, I would say maybe one week, 10 days, because we have to review over 200, 300 applications, we choose, the sub-team leads choose their shadows, and then the project begins. So you are getting onboarded, you get mentored. What does it mean? Mentoring in open source, it's a little different than mentoring in a company. There is no evaluation process, nothing happens if you do a mistake, so it's pretty relaxed. Actually, doing mistakes is expected, so you need to actually try and do things. And the lead, of course, having done that role before, is able to guide you in the different tasks that you have to deliver every day. And it's pretty cool because, of course, you have to ask also other people in the project what to do, how are they doing. You have to have check-ins, especially for comms. Our role is very human-centric, I would say. So we are actually relating to many, many different people whole day. If you don't want to do that, maybe other teams are better. That's completely fine. There are different roles that you can tackle. So for me, going to be a shadow for comms in 1.31 was a very nice professional experience, but also personal, because I learned, for example, that I have little patience, especially when people don't reply to me. I don't like to be ghosted. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But yeah, I found some strategies, and I will unveil them during the presentation about not getting ghosted by people in open source, which is, I think, great. So what did I do, and my shadows, of course, during the next release that we did, so 1.32. As a lead, you're basically the one opening pull requests for blogs and orchestrating those. We're going to see it more in detail. But just to make you understand, in total, in this 4 PRs, I had like 350 comments to address in terms of review. So it's a lot of work. And it's comments about how the blog is written in a technical way, but also under the editorial way, because like English is not my first language, if you didn't notice. So yeah, you can make mistakes again, and no one went after me. It's just a comment, and everything is fine. So comms is actually a lot of work, because these blogs that you see are the result of our communication process with all the like 25, let's say 24, because we exclude our own SIG release. So 24 SIGs in total, plus actually the working group device management, which is a special, I would say, structure that's currently working on the AI part of Kubernetes, so DRA. And yeah, maybe you can check the blog out like yesterday or the other day. We had a blog for 1.33 and the DRA enhancements that we got. It's very interesting how Kubernetes is also shifting towards AI more and more in terms of marketing too, because it's like actually device management can also handle many different things, not just GPUs, but a lot of pressure, let's say, from all the cloud providers is selling GPU. But yeah, that's just me. It's just my opinion. So, what are the most important tasks for comms? Now we're gonna just do a little bit of a break. Status updates first, then the mid-cycle release blog, which is actually an optional blog, but we almost every time have it, because we want to, and this is very important, I think, for any other release, any other open source project, but also in a company, we want to know what people are working on. And what's the best way of, like, in the middle of a sprint or whatever structure your team uses, saying, hey, this is the current status. We are working on this. Maybe in the release in 2 weeks, we're going to have these features, but it's not sure. It's right to not have all the certainty in the world at the middle of a sprint. At least in my opinion, like change management and like all of those things are real, and you should not be afraid to say that you have something and maybe at some point you pull it out because you couldn't make it. Like, especially in open source, of course, we are not paid, we're all volunteers, so no one is getting fired from the open source project. If a feature doesn't fit, it's fine, you can do it in the next release. And I think this is a lesson that could be brought also internally in enterprise. I prefer to have a feature that has been tested more, that has been vetted a bit, instead of just launching for the sake of launching. Of course, if you are in a startup, it's a bit different. You have to outpace the market, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, if you are, be a slightly bigger enterprise, maybe you can take this lesson too. Deprecation and removal release blog. In case there are many deprecations, we have a separate blog. Like for this release, we had a couple of API deprecated, API endpoint. And the thing is, most companies that I know do not announce properly deprecations and removals, or they do major updates that break everything, and they don't give enough notice to their users, to their customers. Retrocompatibility is just a dream. At least in Kubernetes, we try to say, hey, this endpoint has been deprecated. Now in 3 releases, it's going to be gone forever. So please do not use it ever. We disable it by default. So you even have to go through an effort to re-enable it. So at least you are aware that that is deprecated. So yeah, this is another lesson that I think I would bring to any product. Like, treat your removals as something important to communicate externally. Because people might rely on your product, even your internal platform. It doesn't have to be an external facing product. I'm a platform engineer, I build a platform. I don't say that I'm deprecating Helm, V2, whatever. That's bad. Like, my developers are going to be mad at me, and I don't want that. So I want to really communicate. It can be Slack, it doesn't have to be a blog, but find a way to convey that message. Then we have the feature blogs. These are one of my favorites because I don't have to write them. Actually, it's the people developing the feature that write the blog. We just orchestrate all the workflow. So we basically ask for review from their own SIG and from SIG docs in terms of like edits and like how is it written, if it matches the style that we have in the guidelines of the blog. And those, I think, again, if you have a new feature, especially if it's customer-facing, user-facing, you should write about it in your own platform, even internally, just a Slack message saying, hey, from now you can use this feature, maybe you attach a GIF or whatever, explaining a little bit what it is, how to use it. It's a little bit redundant, as in, of course, you have the documentation already, you should have it. And in Kubernetes, it's compulsory. No docs, no feature. Like, if you don't write the docs, the feature doesn't get merged. So, like, there's no way. The blog is optional, but it's very nice to, like, announce that something is out. And it's a way, even maybe for non-technical people, to understand that there is a new feature that their developers maybe have to work on or have to implement in the cluster. And that goes, again, even in your enterprise, you should talk about your features. Then there is the official release blog. This is something that many companies also do, and that's absolutely, like, I would say that this is not a teaching at all. Like, you want to announce your new release because you have shiny features. It's a lot of marketing. In the case of Kubernetes, it's a bit less marketing. Like, we actually dive kind of deep into what that feature is, even in the blog. I think the last blog was like over some like 7,000 words or something. Like, it's very long because we had 62 features and 2 deprecations. So it was a lot for like 3 months. Our sprints are like 3 months long. And yeah, so aside from that, we also coordinate a couple of things outside of the release technically with the CNCF. So one is the interviews between the lead of the whole release, not just a sub-project, and any, like, I don't know, newspaper, online, TechCrunch, whatever, and coordinating the release webinar, which is upcoming, I think, later in May, should be mid-May. I think I have a link after, so you can actually take out your phone and scan the QR code. But yeah, anyway, some blogs, again, are not compulsory. Some stuff we have to do. But for a minute, let's think about the role itself. I think comms, it's a mix of technical writing, marketing, a little bit of public relations, and sort of developer relations too. Like, it's a role that I would see adapt for maybe even a newly hired DevRel in a company to learn about communication. This is a perfect playground. I would say that's, in my opinion. Of course, it helps also a software engineer, because we know that most software engineers, they don't have a lot of soft skills, myself included. So they have to work on how they communicate, especially within their own teams. And this is also a way in the open, without any judgment, without any pressure, to work on that too. Now, what do I think are the fundamental principles driving open source, but I would say that are applicable also for enterprise? Regular meetings. No, I'm not talking about a stand-up meeting every morning at 9 a.m. That's awful. Don't do it. But have some form of meetings. Let's say once a week, you come together with your team and you discuss whatever is working, whatever is not working, especially focus on what's not working, because we don't want to just pat people on the back and that's it. We want to actually tackle the problems. Status updates. It can be async. Actually, in my opinion, it should be async, even if, like, doing it in a call gives some more accountability, because imagine you have to tell someone, hey, this release is not really working. I don't know why I'm not working on it, versus like just writing a message. You can more easily like get away with it. So yeah, keep everyone up to date about what you're working on, what your team even is working on. It doesn't have to be individual. Actually, I prefer the team-based update. Transparency and consistency. To track issues early, you have to say if something is not working. Even if it's difficult to communicate with your management and saying, hey, 2 weeks is not enough. This is going to take 2 months. Don't say it at the end of 2 weeks, because otherwise they'll say, hey, you know what? I don't believe you. I think you just messed up, you procrastinated, and you didn't know that this would take 2 months, which can be true. Like, sometimes there are like obstacles coming on the way and you had no idea about them. But yeah, as soon as you find something, just raise your hand and say it. especially in open source, because of course, like, no one is fighting you or anything. So if there's a problem, just say it out loud, and it's a collective effort of responsibility to find a solution to that problem. So, work in progress. Again, talk about your work in progress. I won't dive deeper on that. Communicate the removals. I would say that that's already also very much what we said before. Announce the changes, and yes, louder for the ones without RSS. Like, find your channel for communicating changes. It can be Slack, it can be Teams, it can be whatever you use. And of course, the more public facing it is, the more public facing the announcement should be. And even you can spend some marketing budget for like boosting the announcement. Why not? So, how do you chase people down if the news flow is not working? Because that's basically what comms does every single release. The work of a project manager and even of a comms lead is to run around and chase different people. Example, chasing a member of a certain special interest group that never gives update in a timely manner, or tries to sneak something in the release without actually telling anybody else, because they just don't want to like work on the docs and whatever. But yeah, you should clearly communicate with everyone, and you should of course address preferably a team instead of just a single individual, because of course even within their own realm, every SIG has a team made of different people with some leadership positions that have like more responsibilities than others. So you should also like be able to track down the leaders. And this is a bit different in respect of enterprise. Like, it's not like going to someone's boss and say, hey, this person is not working. No, nothing like that. It's like, hey, we need this information. I don't know who in your team has this information for me, but please chase them down so that I can get what I need. And this is something that I think should change also your perspective when in your enterprise, in your company, you talk with someone else's boss because there is a problem, there is an accountability issue. You should never try to address the single person, but just the issue itself. So don't go personal, just try to get what you need. And then it's responsibility of the manager to figure out what was wrong within their own team. So, of course, reminder, sometimes life happens, like it's fine if you don't communicate, it's nothing wrong. We have processes to address when communication is not possible. Let's say you opted in to write a blog for a feature and you cannot do it anymore. If you say it, it's totally fine. Of course, we track it. If you don't say it, after a while, you'll be just like, the blog will be just turned down and nothing happens. But it would be nice to know it beforehand. Anyhow, aside from escalation, of course, you also have to basically deal with the people in different ways. Like, not everyone is the same. Some people prefer to be pinged in a direct message, and they don't reply in channels because for them, channels are a lot of noise and a lot of notifications. So you can try also with private messages. Some people only communicate through GitHub issues. I cannot. I have like over 1,000 notifications every day, so I cannot really track who's mentioning me on a GitHub issue, mostly because I work for GitHub. Otherwise, I could. But yeah. So, from KEPs to blogs and docs. So we saw a little bit the difference between documentation and blogs. But what is a KEP? So a KEP is a Kubernetes enhancement proposal, which is almost an RFC. If you ever heard of RFC as a term, raise of hands. Perfect. It's a very, very nice room today. Wow. You're all smarter than me. That's great. So yeah, I didn't ever hear about RFC before KEPs because I never did have to deal with standards. And in Italy, we are a little bit behind on technology. So I just started to use Kubernetes, and we were one of the first companies in Italy to use it. But and the process is basically someone has an idea about a feature, there is a template to fill, and they just put it in a repo. It's separate from the whole project, and someone else, or maybe even themselves, they can take over. They can ask the special interest group. Let's say I want to write a feature for storage, I will talk with SIG storage and I'll say, hey, can I write this feature? Can we target 1.35? And we have 3 stages. It's alpha, beta, and stable. So it's actually, I think, pretty cool because we have alpha changes can be almost whatever you want, as long as they are behind a feature gate. Yes, feature gates, please use them. So you can toggle on and off stuff in your project. This, again, applies also to enterprise. It's a very nice thing to do. So you don't have to actually worry about, oh no, canary deployment like we saw in the previous talk. If you were in this room, you don't need to canary deploy. You can just deploy. The feature is off. So nothing gonna change. And yeah, so yeah, you have these statuses, you have changes between these statuses, and this is something that the enhancement team tracks. So when a feature changes from alpha to beta to stable, and they have to explicitly communicate that they are targeting a state change. And for every state change, of course, they have to update documentation, possibly write a blog, and that's when we come in. We basically track everything in this very convoluted way. It's simpler if you actually are involved in the release. From the outside, this seems a lot, but it's actually broken down between colors. Maybe yellow was not the best choice, right? Yeah, but that's me. Like, I worked in this laptop with no lighting. So you see SIG docs. SIG docs is our holy grail. We, of comms, we work very closely with them. They approve and review every single blog. Doesn't matter if it's a feature or if it's official blog. SIG, anything, because it can be any SIG. They have also chairs and tech leads and other KEP owners and the person that's actually developing the release. They are the author of the feature blog. Then we have SIG release, which is us, basically. Within the release team, there is the comms team, and then a comms shadow, which actually gets assigned to a couple of these blogs to track for features. And the comms lead actually helps out if something goes wrong. But typically, in my release at least, and in this one, comms shadows has been amazing. So actually, kudos to them. And then we have SIG contribers, which is very important. We also have social media on Kubernetes. There is a Twitter channel, not so used now. There is Blue Sky, Kubernetes.dev, and also Kubernetes.io. And there we basically share all the blogs. And yeah, this is a little bit of the workflow. Tools. I'm gonna go very quick on this. Tooling, what we use a GitHub board. I'm honest, I would have done this even if I would not work for GitHub, but we really use this board. It's a bit messy, but yeah, it has a lot of fields because a lot of people actually use this board for tracking the current status of the release. But lucky us, we have a sub-board just for comms that we created, so we can just track the blogs with all the PRs, the status. As you can see, there are also different assignees to the different stages of the blog. If I had more time, I would have shown you like the whole life cycle of a blog, but maybe you can actually read the handbook, and we'll have links for you. And we have a handbook. This is the handbook. If you want to scan it, this is the one for comms. You're gonna see like exactly what do you need to do, what are the stages, what are your responsibilities. If something is not well written, you're welcome to open a PR. And yeah, it's going to be updated very soon because every release we update it and refine it. This is also important for enterprise. Refine your docs. When you use something, if it's not working, just open a PR. It's simpler to do like little changes like this than to actually like do everything in one chunk. Oh, Slack. We use Slack a lot for communicating the status of the release, and here you can find another QR code, but it's actually slack.krs.io if you want to join, or if you are already there, like come and say hi in the other SIG channels that you can see. If you are interested in any of these parts of Kubernetes, you can, of course, join the channel, join their weekly or bi-weekly calls, depending on the SIG. Usually they are like even 2 time zones, APAC and EMEA, AMER. This is my favorite part. This is a whole log of what happens during the release with all the status updates we give, and it's all public. You cannot comment. I mean, no, maybe you can comment, but you cannot edit for sure. And you can check how the release is going or how the releases previously went. It's pretty cool. I think it also helps you to understand that this is blameless. This is just updates, agnostic, on a piece of paper that where we tackle issues. Green status means everything good, of course. Then we have yellow and red. You'll see sometimes a lot of red towards the end, but it's fine. No worries. The releases always happen, like no matter what. Of course, we have the Kubernetes website if you want to contribute. Even if you are a web editor, if you want to just really help review blogs, or if you want to work with Hugo and Netlify. I know it's not Next.js, it's not a very modern framework, but if you want, you can also help on the web development part. This is the last release blog that we had for 1.33. If you want to give it a read, it's one of the longest ever. I think it's the longest ever so far. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And in the logo, there are 64 stars, by the way, like, which is 64 enhancements that we had in this release. Live release webinar 1.33. If you really want to know about the latest release, you can always check it out. It's from the CNCF. There are enhancement and comms lead too. Some takeaways really quick. Track your release items and their cycle. Write about your releases or deprecations. Again, this is also for enterprise. Ensure info flows within your teams, open source or not. Give public status updates when feasible, public or even just public within the company. Create a communication team. That's something that I think could be important. Create a shadow program for that, and I would add even for other teams. Keep it human. That's the most important thing. This is another QR code if you're interested in joining 1.34 as a release shadow. So that's always something that you are able to do. You can find it also on GitHub in our 1.34 issue. And that was it. Thank you. If you have questions.